Eddie and Webby, dinking around with Eddie and Webby tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. For the last time in 2023, this is Dinking Around with Eddie and Webby. I am Webby, not Eddie.
And I'm Eddie, not Webby, but we need to touch the tips. There we go. It wouldn't be official without the tip touching. We're so excited to have you guys. This says, Webby had mentioned this is our last episode of 2023, but we're going to be going over the top 10 moments of 2023. There's been a lot of stuff going on in pickleball this year. Would you agree with that, Webby?
Yes, it was quite a year, both in the world of pickleball and for us. Lots going on.
So many things going on. And as always, we are live. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We are live on Twitter/X. And we are live on Twitch. 4 different platforms tonight, which means there should be no excuse for you guys to interact with us. So if you have a question, if you have a comment, or if you have a top 10 moment from 2023 of your own, whether it's your own pickleball journey or something that happened within the pickleball world, please share it because we would love to know what you guys think.
Absolutely.
That's right. But before we get into any of that, Webby, I'm thirsty. Typically for these year-end episodes, we like to have a special beer or beverage that we're going to be able to consume while enjoying each other's company. Do you want to share with everybody what you're going to be consuming this evening?
Yeah, don't mind if I do. This is a very special one. I've actually been holding on to it for a couple years. I wanted to make sure it was a very special occasion when I drank it, and I can't think of a better one than our end of the year special episode. And this right here, it came from our good friend Matt Loria, who has been on the podcast numerous times. And this is actually a beer that was brewed for his wedding day. And this is from Founders Brewing Company, and it's called Loria Euphoria. I love the name. And it is a coffee blonde ale. We got a nice bomber here. It's a 7.6% beer, so pretty potent. And that is what I will pour and be sipping on all evening. What about you, my friend?
So happy you're drinking that beer. I still have mine in my fridge. I will tell you, I am incredibly sensitive to caffeine. And if I have caffeine after like 2 p.m., it'll keep me up till the wee hours of the morning. So I am still holding on to that beer when I want to do some day drinking, but enjoying some nice flavors. So tonight, I actually have a couple different beers that I'm going to be drinking. The very first one is actually, I think it's the very first beer I ever brewed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, Webby. This would have been a long time ago at our last house we had in Michigan. We had the basement bar set up. It wasn't even done yet. And I had a couple beers on tap that night. We had a bunch of friends over. We did the dollar store gifts. Any of this ringing a bell?
It does, yeah. I remember that night vividly, at least part of the night.
Yeah, right. I don't know if I remember all of it either. But this right here is that beer. I only have 2 left from that batch. I have no idea how it's going to age. It's a stout. It is made from extract, not all grain brewing. I have no idea how it's going to be. It's over 10 years old, maybe 11 or 12 at this point. So could be great, could have aged very well, could be awful. I don't really know, but there's only one way to find out. And why not do that now, right?
Yeah. What better place than here? What better time than now?
That's right. Oh, it actually still has some decent carbonation in there.
Oh, nice.
Maybe I'll leave the little sediment at the bottom there. Don't have to really.
That'd be hilarious if it makes you violently ill during the show.
Oh, man. Yes. Well, cheers, my friend. Happy year-end 2023.
Yeah.
Wow. Actually, surprisingly, it's not bad at all.
Nice.
Considering it's been aging for that long. A little oxidation, but that's okay in a stout that you want to age for a little bit. Not too bad. I will continue to drink this, and I hope it doesn't make me violently ill. How about the Loria Euphoria? How are you feeling about that?
Just took my first sip ever, and I am liking it a lot. It definitely, you can taste the coffee in it, and it does have like the blonde ale type flavor to it. I'm liking it a lot.
It's kind of cool, not to nerd out too much on beer because I know that most of you guys don't care about that, but to be able to brew a lighter colored beer with coffee is not an easy feat because obviously when you add coffee, it's going to add darker colors. So I think the trick is you actually have to do some unroasted coffee beans to get some of that coffee flavor out, but
Mm.
without getting some of the dark colors. I don't really know. I never really experimented much with coffee in my beers, but that's cool. I'm excited for when I do some day drinking and can sip on that Loria Euphoria.
Very nice. And so, what we always like to do is a top 10 list. But before we get to that, we actually do have a comment that came in from somebody tuning in on YouTube's,
Hmm.
and that is from Joe Matthews. And to him, one of the biggest moments of 2023 was Matt Wright and Riley Newman breaking up. And that was pretty huge news in the pro pickleball world.
It was absolutely huge news. It did not make our top 10, but I think it's absolutely worth having a quick discussion on right now because it was very monumentous. Obviously, their breakup was interesting to say the least. I don't know that Matt and Riley agreed to be partners a couple years ago due to like a friendship or any sort of relationship that they had off the court. I think, and I'm speculating here, but I think most people would agree it was probably pretty much like a business kind of transaction between Riley and Matt. Would you agree with that, Webby?
Yeah, I think that would be safe to say. And but I do recall like people were very curious to see like who was going to dominate between the two or who was going to have a better record once they split up because they seem to be a very good team together. I feel like they always fell just short of Ben and Colin, but they were there. They gave them great fights throughout the years.
They sure did. And it's still up for grabs. I don't know that Matt Wright is trying to be the number one pickleball player in the world. I think Matt Wright is an attorney. That's his full-time job. Pickleball is a side thing that keeps him active, something he loves, keeps him competitive. Obviously, the guy's a fierce competitor. So I don't know that him and Riley have the same goals or motivation, especially long-term in pickleball. Also considering that Matt is 44, 46, somewhere in there right now too. So, you know, he's at the older end for non-senior pros, but he still is absolutely dominating out there. So I
Oh, for
don't know.
sure.
I don't think it was a great choice for Riley to dump Matt now. I think if they would have continued to play together, they could have given the Johns brothers they could have had a better chance of giving the Johns brothers a little bit more of a run for their money. But I don't think it would have lasted long term. So maybe Riley thought, hey, let me get in with somebody younger now. We can spend this year figuring out who I want to play with. And then from there, we can develop into the partnership that's going to be consistently competitive against the Johns.
Yeah, I agree. And they recently played against each other at the most recent PPA event. That was definitely very entertaining to watch.
Oh, yeah. A lot of chirping out on the court. But here's what I loved about it, right? At the very end, they came up and they shook hands, and you can tell it was just, they were like, hey, I respect you, and I respect you, and this is just what we do. And you got to respect that.
Yep, totally agree. And before we get to our list, I do kind of want to go over one more thing that Joe Matthews just brought up. I'm not sure if you saw his comment yet already, but it's a good one for me. And he said, from Joe and Tara, our top 10 was getting pickled by Webby. And that goes that goes along with another comment that he left for us here. And he said right here, oops, sorry, I'm a little rusty with bringing up the social media comments, but he said, I tried to bring the other comment up. I couldn't do it. But he said, where did it go? I lost it.
Here, I got it. There we go.
There it is. They said getting pickled by Webby.
It's the
in
exact same
2023.
comment, Webby. I don't know what you
I
were
thought
trying to do here, but it
I
was
thought
the
it was just
exact
a
same
pause.
comment.
Man, is this beer kicking in already? It might have. I haven't eaten much today.
Man, you guys are in for a treat if we haven't even gotten to our top 10 yet, and this is how it's going.
No, but yeah, Joe and his wife Tara, they reached out to me on social media and they wanted to see if I would be available to play pickleball with them the next time they come to Michigan. And we've always said from the very beginning when we first started doing this podcast that if you ever want to meet up with us and play some pickleball, we'd be all about it. So
Mhm.
I took them up on their offer. They were super nice, very great pickleball players. We met up at Livonia Athletic District, played some very fun games. My buddy Rick joined us, so we mixed it up, the matchups and stuff like that. And that's just one of the many reasons why I love pickleball, because these are two people that I had never met in person before, but we met up on the pickleball courts, spent a couple hours chatting, playing some great pickleball, and it was an absolute blast. And that's just one of the many reasons why I love pickleball. Because what other sport can you do that with? What other
Mm.
sport can you like just meet up with strangers and immediately have a great bond, have good, fun, competitive matches? I don't think really there's anything out there like it.
I definitely agree. But I got to ask, Joe, how much did it motivate you and your wife, Tara, to get better knowing that you got pickled by Webby? I got to know.
Oh, I'm sure they spent days and many hours drilling nonstop after that, because they probably felt pretty bad about their skills after that.
Dude, I love it. That's great. So yesterday, I want to go on a little tangent before we get into our top 10 list, and this is about open play. Yesterday, I went to open play in Naples for the first time in a very, very long time. And I know I'm going to sound like such a snob and such an ungrateful a-hole, but I'm just going to share how I feel. I know why I try to avoid open play like the plague. And I was quickly reminded of that yesterday. So I went to meet with my dad. We first showed up at East Naples at 8 a.m. East Naples has 50, 60 some courts. So typically, if you're going to show up at that time in the morning, even on the weekend, you're going to be able to get plenty of opportunity to play. Well, there was a tournament going on, and I completely forgot about it or didn't even know about it. I don't know. So we ended up having to leave there. We drive up to Veterans Park. It's another very common place where open play takes place in Naples. It's available to the public. And first of all, Webby, I ran into somebody that said he literally just played pickleball with you like last week or the week before,
Nice.
which is crazy. What a small, we're at the Livonia Athletic District.
Yeah.
How crazy is that somebody down in Naples just played with you last week? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. I love that, though. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool to hear. But so I got to the first courts at 8 a.m. I left at 10:45 a.m. from Veterans Park, and I got 4 games in. 4.
Oh, man.
4 games in almost 3 hours and 45 minutes of my life. That was incredibly frustrating.
Yikes.
I took it for granted that I used to live in a community with pickleball courts like a couple hundred yards away from the house. But anyway, that was my open play experience yesterday, and I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that again anytime soon. Do you do open play much, or are you mostly just private matches now?
This past year, I didn't do much open play, and what I mean by that is I didn't like show up at outdoor public courts much to just see who was there and play. Because my time is so limited, I want to get the most out of it. So I typically will either join private groups that rent courts, or I play at Livonia Athletic District and mostly Wolverine pickleball during like certain specific skill times. And those are good because they only allow a certain amount of people. That way you're in a 2-hour span, you only sit once at the most. And if there's an even amount of people, sometimes you don't sit at all. You just keep mixing up throughout the whole day. So to me, it's well worth spending the money to play at these facilities because, one, they're indoors, so you never have to worry about the elements. The weather never stops you from playing. And then also, you're guaranteed 2 hours of competitive play, and you play almost the entire time. So I absolutely love that. And I spent a lot more money not by doing that and not going to outdoor open play, but to me, it's well worth the money.
Oh, absolutely. I think it is as well. If there's an area we're going to spend money, it's definitely, making it to where it's worth your time. Because if I'm going to spend 3 hours and 45 minutes at pickleball courts, I want at least 3 hours of them to be on the court, whether it's drilling, whether it's playing. And then the other 45 minutes, taking water breaks, socializing, stuff like that, that's fine. But to have 20 minutes plus between games, it's like, what is going on? That's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's rough. And from what I've heard, a lot of the places that I used to go to regularly outdoors, just because pickleball is becoming so much more popular than ever, the wait times have increased more than ever. So, yeah, I don't don't want to just sit there waiting to play most of the time.
Yeah, I completely get that. Um, as mentioned, guys, we're going to be going over our top 10 list here. But if you have any top 10 moments that you want to bring up about 2023, feel free to throw them in the comments below. But Webby, anything else you want to do before we jump into number 10?
I say we get into it unless you have something in mind, but I'm excited to go over this list.
I say we go over the list and we'll take a little breaks here and there between to talk about other topics as they come up. But why don't you kick us off with number 10?
All right. So coming in at number 10 on the list is something very special to me. It is a series that I created, I think about 3 years ago now. I think it was during COVID when I created this. And it's the Webby versus Everybody series. And this, I feel like, was one of the best years for the series. We've had some really good series or good years, but this year was one of my favorites for numerous reasons. We had amazing people that I played against. All of them, or almost all of them, were pro level. We had Johnny Pickleball. We had Ariel Butler. We had Joey Farias, Sydney Sunday, and then had some local people like Drew Holder. He's an up and coming pro level player. He's trying to work his way into the mix with the pro level players. But as far as local players, he is definitely one of the best. I think he does the snowbird thing. So I think he goes to Florida. Maybe not Florida, but he goes somewhere warm in the winter months. So maybe you'll get a chance to play with him sometime. But he's a very solid player. He absolutely crushed me when we played. Because in case anybody's not familiar with the series, it's me doing singles against usually a very high level player. But it doesn't always have to be just a super high level player. If anybody watching ever challenges me, I'm never one to back down from a challenge. And I actually accepted a challenge from a fan of ours, James Tomasino. He lives in Chicago, and he drove all the way from Chicago to meet with me at the Wolverine Pickleball warehouse. And we had a fun match. He turned out to be a really good player too, and totally destroyed me. But it was very fun. And one of the things that I incorporated into the series this year that I think is a game changer and one of my favorite things was making my opponent, if it's a pro level or just a very high level 5-0 plus player, making them use the paddle that I got from Five Below. And it's been a great equalizer. Sadly, a lot of the pro level players are still able to beat me when using the Five Below paddle. Not all of them. I have gotten some victories when they use that paddle, but even those matches are very close. But it just shows how incredibly talented the pro players are, because they can deal with this super, super thin piece of crap paddle. It's thinner than a ping pong paddle. And when you hit it, there's no shock absorption at all. You feel every bit of the hit. The ball vibrates through your hand, through your wrist, part of your arm. It's absolutely horrible. But somehow these pros are able to adapt quickly and learn how to actually play well with it.
Yeah, I've been loving the series this year too. Two things that really stood out to me. The first one is I can't believe how good Joey Farias was with that Five Below paddle.
Oh my God, it was crazy,
right? And the second thing is, obviously, and I'm a big fan of Johnny Pickleball. I consider him to be a good friend of mine. Miking him up was hilarious. Is that something you're going to continue to do going forward?
Yeah, that was the first time I ever mic'd up myself and my opponent, and that was another game changer that I think I'm going to do that from every episode moving forward. The first time I used a mic was when I played against Ariel Butler, but I only mic'd you up. I didn't mic Ariel and myself up, but that was a lot of fun having you mic'd up because you were our special guest referee, and that was super fun. That was one of the most fun episodes. And then when I mic'd up Johnny and myself, that took it to a whole nother level because we were trash talking each other. And Johnny, he's a great trash talker, and he doesn't have much of a filter when it comes to when he's on the court. So I thought that was definitely one of the best episodes of all time, and that was the most recent one that I did. So yeah, moving forward, I will definitely mic up myself and my opponent, and then I will probably always bring along the Five Below paddle in case I need to get an equalizer involved.
Very nice. Two more questions for you, Webby. Number one, do you have anybody lined up for 2024? And second question, if anybody listening right now either has a pro to recommend to play in it or themselves want to challenge you to a Webby versus Everybody, how do they go about that? So 2 questions for you.
All right. So I have people in mind. I haven't reached out to them yet, but so far everybody I've reached out to has been more than happy to join me in these episodes. So I do have some some potential opponents in mind that'll be very fun in 2024. And then anybody tuning in, if you want to give a suggestion or even issue a challenge, the best way is to leave a comment on Facebook, leave a comment on this YouTube video, or send us an email to contact@eddieandwebby.com.
I like it. I'm looking forward to seeing more of those videos. I always like when you tell me that another video popped up so I can watch it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, they were super, super fun to do, and I look forward to doing many more in the future.
Very nice. Well, speaking about things that we're going to be doing very more of in the future, that sentence did not come out right. In my head, it made sense. Did not come out right. I want to go on to number 9, which is the 5th anniversary of the Eddie and Webby podcast took place back in April of 2023. Is that right?
That is correct.
And from that, we spawned a new series called Just the Pickle. So for those of you guys who've been with us for quite a long time, you know that we had the Eddie and Webby podcast, and then about 20 or 30 episodes in, we also added on Dinking Around, which was like our post-podcast podcast. Our main podcast 2 years ago around this time, we decided to end it for a number of reasons. If you go back and watch a lot of those episodes, the primary focus of most of them was to interview the top pros in pickleball and help set them up to become seen as superstars. And I feel like we accomplished our mission, and it was the right time to end that podcast and just move over to this Dinking Around format, which is more of a loose-based thing. We haven't really interviewed too many pros. If we've had pros on, it's usually because they have kind of an interesting story. Maybe they're an up-and-comer, but we'd like to talk to interesting people. Like last episode, we had Chris Callie on, who's Sorry Not Sorry Pickleball, hilarious, a lot of fun. We had, let's see, Fit to Serve.
Evan Slaughter from Fit to Serve.
Yeah,
super fun.
Yeah, and then Carl Schmitz 2 episodes ago to talk about pickleball paddles. So it's just more of a loose format, which I like. It's a lot less planning. But we realized we have so many interviews with pros that are still top pros in the game from up to 5 years ago. And because of the YouTube algorithm and because of so many people that have come into the sport in the last 5 years, that content is getting lost. It's not being brought up to the surface. So the idea of Just the Pickle was, let's bring you old podcast episodes. Let's strip out everything except for the pickleball part of it. Let's provide you a little bit of insight into what was going on at that time, and let's give you just the pickleball content from those episodes. Just last Sunday, we released Just the Pickle, episode 1, which was technically episode 94 or 95 of the podcast with Ben Johns, and that episode has already gotten more views in the week that we've had it on than the actual original podcast episode from 5 years ago has gotten over the last 5 years. Did I say that correctly, Webby?
Yeah. And to put it into perspective, if I'm not mistaken, last I checked, it had 4 times the amount of views as the original podcast had. And this just got posted exactly a week ago. So within 1 week, it got 4 times the amount of views as the original podcast episode did. So that just shows how many more people are into pickleball now. And that just shows like a lot of the episodes we've done in the past, they're probably buried so deep that newer people probably have no chance of finding them unless they like really, really dig into our library of videos, because we have hundreds and hundreds of videos now. And but just with the podcast, we've got like over probably 140, 150 episodes between the regular podcast and Dinking Around. I mean, it's crazy how much stuff we have out there.
It is crazy. And we hope you guys enjoy it. I also think it's cool to go back and rewatch some of these and just see how young some of the people look. For example, the Ben Johns episode, he was still in Maryland. He was still in college. He was 19 years old at the time that we interviewed him. He was already well known in the sport, but hadn't really established himself as the number 1 player yet. So it was really cool to kind of get his take on that. So I encourage you guys, go ahead and check out Just a Pickle. As mentioned, we're going to be re-releasing them under the Eddie and Webby podcast format that we've been doing for 5.5 years now. I hope you guys enjoy it. Go check it out. Just the Pickle.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. I'm looking forward to doing more and revisiting more episodes in the future. But I say we get to number 8 on our list. What do you think about that?
Numero ocho.
So this has to do with somebody in the pro pickleball world who made a lot of headlines in 2023. She had some very bold claims. She has been on numerous podcasts throughout the year, speaking her mind. I feel like she's kind of a polarizing character, mainly to people that don't really know her. When we had her on the podcast, like she was super nice. We've met her in real life, and she's always been super nice. People that don't know her sometimes take her the wrong way, I think. And that is the one and only Leia Jansen, super, super talented pro player. She retired from singles pickleball this year. She was one of the most dominant singles females. I feel like so many times it was Leia versus Annalie Waters in the finals. She came very close to beating her numerous times, but she spoke her mind a lot about how singles pickleball isn't a great thing in the pro pickleball world. So I think it'd be worth everybody looking her up and trying to find those videos because she makes some very valid points. But I miss seeing her playing singles pickleball because she was so good. But the reason that she made our top 10 list is she was nice enough to let me record one of her clinics that she did at the Wolverine Pickleball Warehouse earlier this year. And she agreed to wear a microphone. She agreed to let me record the entire clinic, which not a lot of people are okay with people doing because some people think, oh, well, if somebody records my clinic, they're not going to pay to do my clinic. But what I like is that she's so confident in how good she is at doing these clinics that she recognized that if this video got out there, it would probably make people want to go do her clinics. And that video, I kid you not, has been the most popular video that we have ever posted on the channel. Like within 3 months, it got more views than any video that we've done in the last 6 years. And I can see why, because she is a very good trainer. Everybody that did her clinic, I talked to them afterwards, and they had nothing but great things to say. They like her training style. What's good is she can be blunt about things. Like she'll point out, like if you mess up, she'll tell you, but then she'll also be good at praising you when you do things right. And I think that's the best way to teach, because if you just say nothing but nice things, I mean, some people definitely prefer nothing but positivity when getting coached, but I think it's good when coaches also point out what you're doing wrong and then give like a suggestion on what to do to do it better or do it the right way and stuff like that. And even though I didn't do her clinic, me being behind the camera, recording the whole thing, and then when I edited it and then I've watched it, like I've learned a lot of things just by watching that clinic. And it was super cool. Very nice of her to allow me to do that. And one good thing, I've heard a lot of great feedback. Like people have told me like they want to know how to get in touch with her or how to see her schedule to do clinics, because after seeing the video, they would love to do one in person. And even though the video was on the longer side, I think around like 30 minutes, but like the clinic was like, it was either 2 or 3 hours long. So, I mean, it was just a fraction of what she actually did in the clinic. I just put what I thought were the most valuable for people viewing at home to see and stuff like that. So definitely, if you get a chance to do a clinic, you will get more out of it than what you saw in the video. But even just what's in the video was amazing. And you'll become a better player by doing it. And being there in person is way different than watching it on video. So I think it's awesome. And thank you, Leia, for allowing us to do that. And to me, that definitely earned a spot on our top 10.
Totally agree. That video was great. Leia, always been a big fan of hers. I appreciate her. I'm glad there's people like her in this world that aren't afraid to just say whatever and throw it out there. And I've always had nothing but positive interactions with her. So yeah, she is a little polarizing, but I really appreciate her. And you brought up a really interesting point, Webby, too. You talked about how even though you weren't taking the clinic, just by being there and by going back and editing, you learned a lot. Through the years that I've done Simone's YouTube channel, I feel like just being there to record with her, sometimes being the student, but even when I wasn't, just being there to record with her, going back and editing it, it helped me so much with my game to understand the strategy of pickleball. So I always joke and say, I got a 5-0 strategy at a 3-0 execution, and that's why I play 4-0, because I know how to do it, but sometimes I just don't do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally relate. That's for sure. But yeah, one thing I want to ask anybody tuning in, if you have any pro players that you would love to see a clinic, let us know, because a lot of the pro players, even though I said some like wouldn't be okay with me recording, I think the best and most confident pro players out there would be totally fine letting us do a video about it. So let us know. And I would be even willing to travel to where one of these pro players are to record it, because like I said, I got a lot out of it myself just tuning in or just recording it and editing it. So I think it's valuable in numerous ways. It helps promote the pro and their teaching style, but then it also helps the viewer get better, and it helps me get better. So I mean, it's win-win-win. So let me know let us both know who else you would want to see in the future do a clinic, and maybe we can make it happen.
That's right. And I was actually surprised to see how many people in the comments for that video said, "Hey, how do I find out where to get in touch with Leia Jansen for one of her clinics?" So you're absolutely right. By putting the content out there, I don't think it's going to take away from people that would actually go to your clinic. They're not going to watch a video and be like, "Oh, I got it now. I'm good."
Right. Yeah. Like, because the whole purpose of the clinic is the pro player or the instructor, whoever is doing it, they see what you're doing, and then they give you advice right then and there on the spot. So that's something you definitely can't get by watching it. Like, unless you like spot somebody that's getting the training and you're like, oh, that's exactly me. Everything about them is how I play. But what are the chances of that happening? Just because everybody has such different quirks and different things that they do right and what they do wrong and stuff. So yeah, the video does not compare to doing a clinic in person.
That's 100% fact. Great. That was a great number 8 spot. And before we get to number 7, a couple social media comments I want to bring up here. And here's one from Belinda Elaine Photography.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Belinda says, "Thanks, Eddie Webby, for all you do for the pickleball community. Much respect. Cheers and best wishes for 2024. Re-release awesome. Best wishes for 2024. Re-release the footage." Thank you, Belinda. Really appreciate that. And we definitely will. We re-release that footage, because you've been around pickleball for a long time too. So you probably remember a lot of the old stuff that we had.
Yeah, we have so much old stuff that I feel like a lot of people have never seen that I think we should re-release, like in addition to the podcast. And I think we've said it before. I do feel like we were kind of ahead of our time in the pickleball world. We were like a fresh, young take on what was considered an old person sport. However, now in just a few short years, I feel like we are now the old people in the sport.
Yes. Especially from the media side, we are definitely the old guys in here. That's hilarious how that shifted, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh man, because I feel like we were like cutting edge, top notch, like when it comes to technology and the stuff that we were doing in the pickleball world. But as soon as TikTok came out and YouTubers started making TikTok content, when I first downloaded TikTok, I felt like such an old person. I had no idea what I was doing. And then we've talked about this before too. I absolutely hate shooting vertical video. Shooting vertical video goes against everything I ever learned in video production and broadcasting school. And it kills me. Like, I'll intentionally shoot stuff vertical just to make like a short or a TikTok video, and a little piece of me dies inside every time I do it.
How annoyed are you when you see like social media content creators, which I know that they're just doing their job, but how annoyed do you get based on initial reaction when you see them with like a nice high-end DSLR or mirrorless camera sideways?
Oh my God, that's the worst. I can't stand it. It's like, that is not what that camera was made for.
I know, but it's crazy. I mean, it's not going to be long before I think cameras will allow you to switch portrait or landscape mode, even if it's a video-based camera. And you already see it, like drones that have camera gimbals and stuff. You get hit a button and it goes from, landscape to portrait. So it's just the new world. People want to look at it in portrait mode, and I get that, but kills me. Like, our eyes are not designed to see things tall like that. Like we
especially pickleball. Especially pickleball. When you watch the highlights of people doing it, like they have to keep like going left and right to see what's going on in the court. No, that's not good on the eyes. Like,
Yeah, it's not good.
I hate it. It's
It's
so bad.
cheeky. I know, but it's the world we live in.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, anyway, thank you again for that comment, Belinda. You think it's time to get to number 7?
Yeah, I think it is. I would love to hear what number 7 is.
All right. So, coming in at number 7 is going to be the Eddie versus Webby singles match during the 2023 Beer City Open. And I want to set the stage a little bit. So, when I was registered under pickleballtournaments.com, I was registered under Eddie Adkins. And then when that registration got moved to pickleballbrackets.com, it used my real name. So when the Beer City Open crew was assembling all of the brackets, they didn't see that it was going to be Eddie versus Webby playing against each other in the first round of our singles bracket. And I know that had they known it, they probably would have chosen to go a different route. However, I think it ended up working out pretty darn well that you and I played against each other in singles for a tournament. And we were also able to put the Eddie versus Webby championship belt on the line. Do you think that was a good result of what happened?
Yeah, I absolutely loved that fact. When I saw that, I got excited. The funny thing is, anytime we brought that up to anybody there, they were like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious? You guys have to play each other in round 1. I'm so sorry. If I would have noticed that, I would have tried to change that and stuff like that." Or people were like, "Oh, that sucks. You guys have to play each other in round 1." I was excited. I loved it. And as soon as I saw that, as soon as we both saw that, we were like, "Oh man, we got to make this for the championship belt. This has got to be the Eddie versus Webby championship match of the trip." And to me, it couldn't have worked out any better. So I love the fact that happened.
Yeah, it was really cool. Webby put the belt on the line. You had it for over a year, right? Like maybe even close to 2 years.
Yeah, it was right around a year and a half or so. And I had won it. We did a mixed doubles match. It was you and Christy from Wolverine Pickleball against me and Leslie from Wolverine Pickleball. And it was a good match. It went to 3 games. Leslie and I won game 1. Christy and you won game 2. And then game 3 was a very close game. So it was a nice, well-balanced match. But in the end, I was victorious. So I was able to finally bring the belt home with me because I had won it previously. But in the same trip, I stupidly agreed to put it on the line before the end of the Beer City Open. And then Eddie won it back in a BS match because of what happened with the lights going out. But that's a whole thing. We could spend a whole another half hour just talking about that. But anyways, so then I held it for about a year and a half because we hadn't really seen each other much in that time frame. And when we did see each other, you hadn't played much. So it didn't seem right to put the belt on the line because I wanted to, if I beat you, I want to beat the best version of you. And that was not the best version of you when we saw each other the one time in that 1.5 year span. So.
Well, I think there were a couple of times we saw each other, but for some reason, the 2022 Beer City Open, we were so busy at, we never had a chance to put it up on the line. And then when I saw you in Arizona, it just, I had not played in, I think, a month prior to that. So I agree with you. It didn't make any sense, but the belt was put up on the line by Webby for that match. And again, this is round 1 of singles. They ended up making it 1-15 for singles that day. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
And I got to tell you, the match was going back and forth. I think that was probably some of the best singles that you and I have played ever in that. I don't think any one of us were necessarily playing really bad. I don't think that either one of us were playing incredibly great. I think we were both playing about as consistent as we are at our current singles level right now. It was going back and forth. It could have been everyone's game, but I ended up being victorious. Final score of that one was 15-12, I believe. Is that right?
Yep. It was a close one.
Yep. And I was victorious. I ended up taking the Eddie versus Webby championship belt back home to Florida with me, where it belongs. And where it's going to be staying for a very, very long time.
Nah, I don't think so. Get used to it. Appreciate every single second you have with that thing because the next time it gets put on the line, it will be coming back home where it belongs, and that is with me.
Okay. Let's see. How many have we done? We've done 10 now. Is that right?
Yeah, that
Or is
was the
that 9?
10th. It was a milestone.
Okay.
Fitting.
And how many of those did you win? Do you remember? I don't.
Uh, yeah, but so like a lot of them. So this was. I feel like this was this. I feel like this was the first one that you like really totally earned. There was no like weird stuff going on, and
What
no,
weird stuff
no,
is
I'm
going
just kidding.
on?
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. You earned them all. There was just one that I think was total BS, and that was at the Beer City Open 2 years ago when the lights went out. I know we came up with a stupid stipulation to where whoever was winning when the lights went out would go home with it, but that was ridiculous.
I mean, shouldn't have agreed to it.
I know it was on me. I did agree to it beforehand, so it's my fault. But I still
It's,
think that was a BS ending.
to answer your question, you've won 2 out of the 10. Just so that.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
fine. Yeah, 2.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm 2. I have 2 wins. He has 8. Whatever.
Yep. 8-2. No big deal. Honestly, with the amount you've been playing lately, I would not be 100% confident putting it up on the line right now because of how much you've been playing and how little I've been playing. So,
Yeah, I would say if we were to play right now, this would be the most confident I have ever been that I would beat you.
In singles or in doubles or either?
In singles specifically. Probably either, but specifically singles, full court singles.
Yeah. Well,
Because if anybody has been watching, I recently got silver in a skinny singles tournament. I'm very proud of that silver medal. And then I'm about to release the video of full court singles, so I'm not going to reveal what I came home with for that one. You'll have to tune in. Probably within the next couple days, I'll be releasing that one. But yeah, I feel like overall, it was one of the best tournaments I've ever done. And the crazy thing is, I did it all in the same day. I did a singles tournament or a skinny singles tournament in the morning, and then I got 0 rest time in between. As soon as that ended, I took the court for my first match of full court singles, and I was regretting it immediately. Like I figured, skinny singles, that'll just be like a good little warm up tournament for the full court singles. But man, skinny singles was a lot more tiring than I expected it to be. I was drained after that, and I immediately thought I should not have signed up for full court singles the same day.
yeah, skinny singles is no joke, man, because you're doing so much more than you are in doubles. Because even though it's half the court, you still have to cover a lot more because you can't use the position power of 2 people to cut off certain angles or whatnot. You got to be on the move. There's typically a ton of dinking. There's a lot of moving around. Skinny singles will absolutely wear you out faster than doubles will. Not as fast as full court singles, but definitely faster than doubles.
Yeah, and the thing I didn't think about is in skinny singles, typically, like if you get into a dink battle, those rallies last a long time, way longer than a full court singles match is. So by the time a skinny singles match is over, you've put in a lot of steps, you've put in a lot of movement because these rallies last a lot longer. Because singles typically, as soon as somebody hits a winner, point over. And but in skinny singles, you can easily recover even if somebody hits like a really nice shot because you're only covering that half court. But yeah, it's a totally different dynamic. I loved it. I would absolutely do another skinny singles tournament. I thought it was great, and I'm really happy that USA Pickleball has added that to the options for tournaments to do and make it count for something.
Yeah, I did a skinny singles tournament a few years ago at East Naples, and I loved it. I also did a full court singles the next day, but I thought it was really cool to be able to do skinny singles, and it's a different experience. It's not the same as full court singles. It's obviously a lot more strategy. It plays a lot more like doubles, but it's still just you out there. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You don't have to worry about a partner, and you're playing more of a doubles style play with little tweaks to it.
Yep. It's the best of both worlds. Do you even know what that song is?
Not a clue. Not a freaking clue. What is that?
Yeah. It's oh man, it's something my daughters used to watch. I can't even remember what it's from, but it's something I feel like anybody with daughters that are like preteen to mid teenagers should know what I'm talking about. If you're watching and you know what I'm talking about, put it in the thing, because it's kind of killing me right now that I can't remember what that's from. But it's from something that young girls watched.
That's
because of my 2 daughters, I'm familiar with it.
Got it. Well, before we get to number 6, I'm actually pouring my second beer right now, and this is
Oh, nice.
Anchor Brewing Merry Christmas. It's their Christmas ale from 2015. It's been aging in my fridge since 2015, and I'm noticing
Wow.
quite a bit of sediment on here, so I don't know
Oh,
how this
man.
one's going to go, but basically I'm just drinking a bunch of old beer that's been chilling in my fridge that's somewhat holiday related. That seems to be the theme tonight.
If the previous one didn't make you violently ill, this one might be the one.
Guaranteed to. 8-year-old Anchor beer. It's exactly what I wanted. But anyway, oh, hey, somebody that you know commented on Facebook, and do you want to share?
Oh yeah, here we go. So we got somebody tuning in named Amber Schindler, and she said Hannah Montana, and yes, that is the song I was singing when I said it's the best of both worlds. So thank you, Amber, for clearing that up. It was bothering me very badly, and I appreciate you.
I like that. Hannah Montana. Good stuff. Should we get to number 6?
Yeah, I say we go for it. So number 6 on the list. This was a huge moment. Like one of the biggest things that has happened in my pickleball journey thus far, and it involves my daughter. She recently got involved into pickleball. So actually, the first time I ever played pickleball, she played with me. It was myself, my wife, and my 2 daughters. I think it was 6 years ago, maybe a little more than 6 years ago now. I bought the cheapest wooden pickleball paddles I could find on Amazon, and the 4 of us played for the first time ever. The 3 of them, they liked it, they had fun, but they were like, whatever. I immediately got addicted, and it took over my life for the next 6 years, and here we are. But about a year and a half ago, my younger daughter, Addison, she started taking a much bigger interest in pickleball, and she and I started playing together at Wolverine Pickleball, doing rec play together, and she quickly got a lot better. And then she took some training from Jake over at Wolverine Pickleball, and he helped her fine tune some things to where she was getting really good and competitive. It got to the point where she and we would do 3.0 nights together at Wolverine. I had an agreement with the owners of Wolverine that because I'm like around between 3.5 and 4.0, and they said like, if as long as you take it easy on the opponents, like don't just totally destroy them if they hit the ball to you, then you and your daughter can play. So I did that, and they mostly targeted my daughter because she was younger, and they knew that I had been playing for a while. So she would get targeted, but it got to the point where we were undefeated almost every time that we would do 3.0 nights together. And that was with her taking over the court most of the time. So that was awesome. So then we started doing 3.5 nights together, and the first time we did it, we lost more than we won. But then the next time we did it, we broke even. And then the next time we won more than we lost. So I was like, man, Addison, would you be interested in doing tournaments? I mean, does that sound appealing to you? I didn't want to push her into it because tournaments are totally different.
Yeah.
I told her rec play is more fun, but tournaments are cool because they really test your skill, and you can see how good you are against people that are playing like really competitive. And she was all for it. So we signed up for a Wolverine pickleball tournament, and we ended up going 2-6, I believe, which is not too bad for her first time ever doing a tournament. And like it goes in mixed doubles, a lot of times the female gets targeted. And then the fact that she was a female and way younger than me, like she definitely got targeted a lot, but she held her own great. And all the games were close. Like we held our own even on the ones that we lost. So she was mad that we lost more than we won, but I told her like, no, this is good. Like my first tournament, I didn't win any games. Like you should be very proud of how well that we did, especially for that being your first one. And then we signed up for a tournament that happened over on the other side of the state. And it was a pretty big weekend. It was the weekend that she turned 16. And it was also the weekend of Father's Day. So I was like, man, how cool is this? We get to go travel to the west side of the state. We absolutely love West Michigan. And we did a tournament that weekend. And we were like, no matter what, like this is really cool. We're doing a tournament on this really special weekend. And not only did we compete in this tournament together, but we did so well that we came home with the gold medal. And to be honest, that was the best medal I have ever won in my 6 year pickleball journey. We played really good. It was a good, solid group too. Like it was very, very competitive games. And it was super cool. Very proud father moment. The fact that it was her 16th birthday weekend, Father's Day weekend, just the whole combination of things, and then us winning a gold medal that weekend. I mean, it was such a memorable experience, such a cool experience, and something that neither of us will ever forget.
That's really cool. And that's another reason why I love pickleball so much. What other sports could a 40-something-year-old father and a 15 or 16-year-old daughter play
Right?
together on an amateur level, right? You're not talking about like, you guys have been playing pickleball together for since she was 8 years old, and now you're playing professional. It's just like this is a side thing. It's it's so cool that you guys are able to do that together. I don't think there's many other sports out there like that where you can
Oh
experience
no.
that, and that's got to be super cool.
Yeah, it was just amazing, and the journey of us like practicing together, playing at Wolverine pickleball. It was super fun, and yeah, it was awesome. It was one of those kind of pinch me moments, like the moments where we got the medals put on us and stuff like that, and there was a big crowd there. Our family was there. It's just super super cool. But like you said, like what else is that even possible, and what can you do competitively, a father and daughter combo like that? I mean, I feel like the funny thing is I messaged Lee Waters, and I was like, I sent her a picture of us with our medals. I was like, check this out. I did a mixed doubles tournament with my daughter. We got gold medals, and I was like, you and Anna Lee Waters are gonna have to watch out because we are gonna become the new parent child team that's gonna dominate the pickleball world.
Was she scared?
I don't think she was scared at all. She kind of, but she responded and she said that's super awesome, and she said cherish these moments because you don't know how long they'll last and stuff like that. And I said like maybe one of these days we could do if we get good enough, if my daughter and I get good enough, we can challenge you and Annalie Waters to a match sometime. So that's a good goal and dream to shoot for.
I love it. That's really cool, man. That's a good story. Really cool that you were able to have that memory with your daughter.
Well, thank you.
By the way, I did pour that beer, and I'm not going to drink it anymore because I think it turned a little bit. It's got a little bit of a sour taste to it, and it's not the kind of sour that I like, and this is not designed to be a sour beer, so I'm going to go ahead and just not continue to drink that beer. I'm going to go back to my other one here.
Oh man, sorry to hear that. I finished one full glass. I've got half of this one down of this beer, and I am enjoying it thoroughly.
Do you feel the caffeine
does not
kicking
have
in?
much left?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I mean, I guess the fact that I'm so alert and awake, maybe I should say yes, because I had a pretty full day today. I actually played pickleball literally right before I came home to connect with you to play pickleball or to connect for this podcast. So normally now would be when I'm starting to doze off on my couch, and so far I feel very alert. So yeah, I guess maybe it is kicking in.
I love it. Before we get to number 5, I do want to share a social media comment from Mr. Tennis. And Mr. Tennis says, brand new to pickleball and just want to say thank you for producing such great content. Mr. Tennis, thank you so much for saying that. Webby and I work really hard to try and put the best level content we can out there in the pickleball world. So to hear that from you absolutely means a lot. Welcome to the pickleball community. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or you want any recommendations for good videos to watch as you're making that transition over. We're happy to help. We just want to be an advocate for the sport. So thank you again for your comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. Definitely appreciate that. We love getting feedback like that. And welcome to pickleball. I love the fact when people from tennis finally work their way into pickleball, because I feel like a lot of people in tennis, they get made fun of if they even think about playing pickleball, because like tennis players, a lot of them, they kind of look down on pickleball. They think it's inferior. They think it's an old person's sport. But I guarantee you, anybody out there who's a tennis player, now anybody watching probably is a pickleball player. But I mean, if you know people that are in the tennis world, they always get hooked. They kind of drag their feet They act like they don't want to do pickleball. They act like they're too good for it. But once they play it, they realize that the hype is legit. They also get hooked on it. And then eventually they give up tennis because they realize tennis sucks. Like Travis Rettenmeyer says. Travis Rettenmeyer is right. He's a former pro tennis player, and he agrees tennis sucks once you get pickleball injected into your veins.
Very true. Very controversial, Webby. And speaking of controversial, I think it tees up very nicely for number 5. So the rest of our top 10 moments have been pretty positive moments throughout the year. Webby and I are both pretty positive people. We like to use this channel for positive content. But sometimes you got to talk about things that just aren't the greatest. And so coming in at number 5 is the Pro Pickleball Tour Wars. Now, there's a ton of content out there that you can watch starting in July or probably about August or so that's explaining in more depth the tour wars and how they got to where we are right now. But I kind of want to summarize a little bit from our perspective of what went down, provide some opinions, talk about the impact of it. So if you guys have comments ready or you have questions as we're going through it, now would be the time to start thinking about what you want to ask, because we could go on for a little bit with this topic. But let me just set the stage here real quick, Webby, okay? Tour Wars. So you really have, starting 2023, 3 main tours. You've got the APP, you've got PPA, and you have MLP. MLP stands for Major League Pickleball. Prior to the beginning of 2023, and I actually think it happened on New Year's Eve 2022, prior to that, the PPA and the MLP the PPA was not allowing any of their players to play in Major League Pickleball. So MLP was a lot more closely linked to the APP. They did some co-branded events like the Beer City Open event that Webby and I were at in 2022. They had MLP going on. Webby got to commentate at it a little bit. And then they had the Beer City Open, which was a golden ticket event that fell under the APP umbrella, just to make it super confusing for you guys. And then towards the end of 2022, as I mentioned, I think it happened on midnight of 2022, there was what I would consider to be maybe a ceasefire or sort of a, what's that word I'm looking for, Webby, where it's like, we're intending to move forward with a partnership. We'll spell out all the specific details as it goes, like a good faith type of deal. Is that how you kind of understood what took place between the PPA and the MLP right before 2023 started?
Yeah, I would say a good faith deal is a good way to say it. Kind of like a verbal, like virtual handshake kind of thing.
Yeah. So throughout all of 2023, there was no real solid contract between PPA and MLP, apparently. It was all just kind of a handshake agreement. They were all moving forward. They had a lot of, co-events where there would be an MLP at the beginning or the end of the PPA event. PPA players were allowed to play. They were kind of acting as separate entities with the goal of kind of becoming one entity. Meanwhile, the seniors decided that they wanted to kind of create their own tour as well, which they refer to as the NPL. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. So you have the NPL, the National Pickleball League. So basically, from what I understand, it's all players that are ages 50 and above that are part of this tour. I don't think that if you play in the NPL, you have an exclusive agreement with them. So there's probably some overlap between NPL players and other tournament series. I could be wrong there. Somebody should correct me if they will. But the NPL was created. And I'm not going to go too deep into that because I just don't know that they've really taken off or made as much of an impact in the sport as they maybe thought that they were going to. And that really doesn't have much to do with the ongoing relationship between PPA and MLP. How am I doing at getting people up to speed so far here, Webby?
Doing great. I think you're doing a great job.
Well, feel free to jump in if you think I'm missing it. So, anyway, let's rewind a few months ago. As I mentioned, PPA and MLP were moving forward as they were going to be finalizing all the details of the relationship. Right before they were supposed to have a signed agreement, Steve Kuhn made a major move and basically, for lack of better term, created a hostile takeover situation. And he started behind the scenes of the PPA going after a lot of players and signing contracts with them to be exclusive MLP players. Once that happened and it became public, then the PPA basically started doing the exact same thing, going after signing exclusive PPA players. It was kind of like a couple billionaires just playing puppet master and trying to get all these players to jump onto their side. And they were creating massive contracts with these players, numbers that have never been even considered before in the sport of professional pickleball. You're talking millions of dollars in the forms of contracts being sent out to these players, which, Webby, if you're if you're a pro player and you're kind of right at that cusp of maybe you're going to start to be able to make a full-time living off of playing, maybe you still have a side job or you're doing a lot of camps and clinics to kind of keep paying your bills and keep it going. Now all of a sudden you get offered a fat salary with benefits and an on season and an off season for way more than you would have ever thought you would make. How are you feeling at that moment?
Oh man, I would be on cloud nine. I would be like, finally, all this hard work I've been putting in the last few years, devoting all my time and all my effort into this thing that I love. Finally, it's paying off. This will be a legit career. I can provide for my family. This is awesome. So yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. It would be perfect.
Yeah. And I was so grateful for a lot of these players. I mean, if they would have asked me, I would have said, open up your wallet and stuff as much cash in there as possible, because the rest of us are sitting there thinking, how long can this last, right? So there's always been rumors and speculation that MLP has been running at a serious loss per event in the hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout the course of the year, and they were losing money. And as anybody knows, a good business model that's putting out millions of dollars is going to be losing a lot of money until it becomes a sustainable business. So meanwhile, as all this was going on, the MLP was looking like they were going to split from the PPA. There was a lot of events that transpired that made it to where now the PPA and the MLP merger was actually going to take place. And that's what happened. I know I'm shoving a ton of facts into the into what, how do I put it, into how things became resolved. But basically, from what I understand it, Steve Kuhn was stepped down from the board of MLP along with a couple others. And basically, there's a lot of reasons why that happened. But then that led to the board being full of people who were going to vote for the PPA and MLP merger. So that seemed like everything was moving forward. And that all has happened within the last couple months. Now, what's happened in the last few weeks, though, is that this new PPA MLP conglomerate, some have referred to it as the Dundonverse, because Tom Dundon, the majority owner of the PPA, he's got both of these organizations. Now we're at a point where the PPA MLP company, let's just call it the PPA, they're looking at the books and they're seeing that MLP is, losing a ton of money. And there are all these contracts that have been signed with all of these players. Massive, massive contracts. And it seemed to me like the PPA ran the numbers and realized this is not a sustainable process. We have to figure out a different way to go about it. And so for all the contracts that were going to be for, 2024 and beyond, they said you have three options. Either you can take a 40% pay cut and we'll require you to work only 60% or 40% less than what we originally contractually had you for. So that was going from 200 days down to 120 days a year, but you had to take a 40% pay cut. and all the other stuff would still work, right? So that was option one. Option two was you could keep your full contracted amount, but you're not going to be playing in any PPA events. Meaning you're on, do you remember what they called it, Webby? The development plan, I think is what they referred to it.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. So you can go on the development plan, meaning you keep your full salary, but basically you're going to be spending 200 days a year doing stuff that you really don't want to do, like 200 days of camps and clinics and whatever the PPA wanted you to do. They want you to scrub dishes. I mean, unless there's something in your contract not to scrub dishes, it seems to me like they were making it to where it's like, you can take all that money, but we're going to make you to where you're going to be miserable and you're not going to want to continue with this. And then the third option is you could get out of your contract with a buyout for a flat fee. I don't know what that fee is. I've heard some of the players say that theirs was $50,000. And basically you're out of the contract. You no longer are a contracted PPA or MLP player, and good luck. So those were kind of the three options that have been set in motion. We don't know because there hasn't been much transparency around who's taken which option and what the result is. I'm sure we'll know over the next couple of weeks, but all in all, it's a bad situation. So I know that I have just been talking for the last 10 minutes trying to bring everybody up to speed. I hope I was efficient with it because a lot has happened. I think it was all important. So now here we are. We have one entity, a merger between the PPA and the MLP. For all intents and purposes, it seems like they are still moving forward with a merger. You have players that are offered pay cuts or a life of hell or a buyout. And I don't know what's going to happen in 2024. Webby, what is your take on all of this, man?
Yeah, it's crazy. It was quite a roller coaster this year. But I got to admit, when MLP and PPA started saying so and so is now a signed player, so and so is now a signed player, when they talked about how much people were getting, I was like, man, how could this be possible? There's no way Pickleball is bringing in enough money to make this sustainable. And I thought I was missing something. I thought, where is this revenue coming from? Because when it comes to when you see the live streams and stuff, they get a decent amount of viewers, but it's nothing compared to I can watch somebody playing Fortnite that'll get 5 times the amount of views as the best PPA and events and stuff like that.
Way more than that. I think you're talking more 100 times the views that you're going to see at some of these.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't know, and I know I kept hearing when PPA would be on ESPN or national TV, I always heard that they had to pay for that time to be on TV. It wasn't the networks are paying them to show pickleball. They had to pay to get TV time to be shown on television like that, to get the national exposure and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I love this for the pro players, but how are these companies actually going to pay these salaries that they're offering to all these players? It just didn't seem realistic to me. I was excited for the players at first, but when I started thinking about it, I was like, how is this actually going to work? How is this possible? And then more and more people started talking about how no, this really isn't possible. Stuff's going to go down soon about how this isn't going to work. And it seems like that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to kind of summarize it and put it in perspective. There's obviously the lens that you see pickleball through is going to be skewed based on who you are in this entire thing, right? The PPA as a business entity needs to make decisions to keep themselves moving forward. And so I understand why they came up with the pay cuts. I still don't think it was enough. And I think all they're doing is this just kind of pushing the ball down the road. They're still not going to be able to make the kind of revenue based on visibility or media deals or whatever they're trying to go after. I still don't think it's possible given what I understand a lot of these contracts are, and they're just pushing it down the road to deal with in 6 months or whatever. So to me, I think deal with it now. Don't just do a 40% pay cut. Either just deal with it, start over, whatever the right solution is. Because at least then you're not just, continuing to give hope in these lingering contracts, and any sort of I just think that would be the right thing to do. So from their lens, I understand it. But now from the player's lens, right? So maybe a year ago, you were sleeping in your car at these tournaments because you didn't have enough money to get a hotel room. Or maybe you were working your ass off giving lessons in clinics because you wanted to be able to still afford your bills while playing pickleball professionally. And now you're offered this fat salary and you feel like, yes, I made it. I'm here. Kind of like what you mentioned, Webby. And then boom, PPA comes in, merger's back on, and now it's like, nope, you need to take a 40% pay cut. And yes, you can play 40% less, or we're going to have you for 40% less days, but it's still, man, that would really, really suck. For the first time ever, a lot of these pickleball pros outside of the top 10 to 15 were feeling like, I can make an income off of this. I'm now getting what I think I deserve. And then shoop, rug pull it out from underneath them. And that's the part that really sucks.
Yeah. One thing that makes me laugh about the whole thing is I feel like anytime Major League Pickleball makes a power move, PPA introduces Vibe Pickleball, the Vibe Pickleball League. And they have like you see people with the t-shirts and the hoodies, like they got the merch already made for it. And I feel like that's just nothing more than like a bargaining tool. But it cracks me up because twice now it seemed that Major League Pickleball got the upper hand, and then Vibe Pickleball League coming soon.
Yeah, Vibe Pickleball is like the nerdy kid's model girlfriend that lives in Czechoslovakia, right? It's like,
yeah,
that's what Vibe Pickleball is. It's like, oh well, I have this other girlfriend. She's a model. I don't get to see her. She's on a shoot right now in Fiji. But here's a picture of her, and it's like, what is that? No, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. There's no substance to it. It's just a name that's associated with the PPA that it's like, well, we can just bring back Vibe Pickleball.
Right. Yeah, cracks me up both times. Like and the funny thing is I've been tempted to buy a Vibe Pickleball t-shirt or hoodie just because like at this point it's just like comic relief to me, and
yeah,
it's just a funny piece of pickleball history.
Vibe Pickleball. Anyway, Webby, I think we've beaten number 5 to death here. So
yeah, I think it was good though. I think it was very important to talk about because I think it was the single most talked about and the biggest thing in the pro pickleball scene of the year. It was, like we said before, such a roller coaster of emotions and just the news. Everything pickleball related for like a 1 or 2 month span was all about the pro pickleball wars. Even national news was covering it at some point. Like that's how big it got, and it was wild, and definitely a big moment in pickleball history. Whether you love it or hate it, you can't deny it was a big moment in pickleball history.
It certainly was, and where it's not done yet. I think it's going to keep on going into next year.
Yep, crazy stuff. But without further ado, I think we should move on to number 4 on the top 10 list. And before I say exactly what it is, I think I want to take you on a little bit of a journey here, because it definitely was a journey, and Eddie and I were lucky enough to be part of this journey from the beginning. And it has to do with Wolverine Pickleball. That is a place that anybody who tunes into our channel knows I have done a lot of things at the Wolverine Pickleball Warehouse. It has been probably the place I've spent the most time in the last 3 years in my pickleball journey. And it all started, I think, my second year of playing pickleball. I found out about one of the Wolverine Pickleball tournaments. It took place at Saline High School, and it was, at the time, the biggest tournament I had ever done. It was a giant gymnasium. They had all the courts taped off. It was on a gym floor surface, and they had a whole bunch of courts taped off. I want to say they had 8, maybe even 10 courts, which at the time, to me, that was like unheard of. I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is like the best tournament I've ever been to.
This is awesome.
And at the tournament, yeah, that's right. It was awesome. And as I always do, I had my camera rolling, and I always like to find the tournament directors and talk to them. So I found them. It was 2 women that were running the organization, Wolverine Pickleball, Christy and Leslie. So I talked to them. I released the video. They were big fans of the video. And then they ended up reaching out to us to see if Eddie and I wanted to go out to dinner with them sometime just to talk about like the future of their organization and pickleball as a whole. And we formed a great relationship with Leslie and Christy. And I don't know. Do you remember? I think wasn't it that a Ford's Garage in
Mm-hmm.
Dearborn? Isn't that
Ford's
where we went
Garage.
out to meet with them? Or
Yep.
went out to dinner with them that first time?
Mm-hmm.
Super fun, and they had a great vision. And at the time, it seemed unheard of because this was like 5 years ago, and nobody was really like pickleball was growing, but like nobody was really investing hardcore into pickleball. And they told us about this vision that they had. They wanted to make a state of the art indoor facility, and it sounded amazing. It almost sounded too good to be true. And but we were all for it. So like we had a great relationship with them, and then they ended up purchasing this old abandoned food distribution warehouse, and they turned it into four dedicated pickleball courts. And here in Southeast Michigan, there's not a lot of places that have dedicated indoor pickleball courts. Most of the indoor places are either gymnasiums with lines taped, or if you're lucky, they have like permanent lines like mixed in with all the other basketball court lines and stuff. Or you share space with tennis courts. Like they take the tennis courts and then they have lines taped there, or maybe they paint permanent lines. But anyways, there weren't many like dedicated pickleball facilities. Well, they took this old food distribution warehouse, turned it into four pickleball courts, and it was awesome. Uh, it was kind of like rough and like edgy and like kind of it was just something was cool about it. I really liked it. Like you go into this warehouse, there's these four courts, but it was just really cool, a really cool place to play, and it ended up taking off to where they were so busy all the time they ended up buying the other half of this warehouse and added four more courts to where they had eight courts, and even those courts were constantly full. And when we had that dinner with them 5 years ago, they told us about this really state of the art dedicated place that was going to have an outdoor area with beach volleyball and bocce ball courts. And then indoors, it was going to be dedicated pickleball courts, at least eight courts. And then maybe they would have like food or alcohol that they would offer there and stuff like that. It seemed way too good to be true. I didn't think it would ever happen, but I loved it and I supported it. Well, fast forward to now, 2023. Earlier this year, you might have seen a video where I was at the groundbreaking ceremony where they were going to finally start making this state of the art dream facility of theirs. And 2 weeks ago, it finally happened. And number 4 on our top 10 list is the grand opening of the brand new Wolverine pickleball facility. And I kid you not, this is the greatest indoor pickleball facility I have ever been to. They have 12 dedicated pickleball courts with optimal spacing, like all around the court, good spacing. That's unheard of. I feel like these, like a lot of places that create indoor courts, they just don't have optimal spacing. They have a good amount of spacing. They have next to each section with two courts, there's a big garage door that can open up. So in the warm weather, they can open that up and you can get some fresh air flowing in. On top of that, they have really nice lounge areas. They have a nice fireplace area. And on top of all that, they have an entire wall with a whole bunch of beer on tap. It's self-serve craft beer. I mean, they offer some light beer options like Coors Light too, but then they have things like Bell's Two Hearted Ale. They have Old Nation M43. They have all these great options. There's margarita options. There's wine options. And then they just charge by the ounce. So you pay for a card, you swipe your card, pour the beer, and it's really state of the art. I've never seen anything like it. I've never even been to a bar that had something like that. I know other people have said like they've been to some bars in some big cities that have this kind of option. I have never seen anything like it. To me, it was very state of the art. But they have really nice bathrooms. They have showers there, and every single day they have a different food truck. They have rotating food trucks that go there every single day. This is the kind of place you could literally stay there all day. I feel like I could almost live there because of all the things they have to offer here. And it's just absolutely amazing. The fact that Leslie and Christy, they had this dream, they made it come true. I was there for their grand opening, and like it was hard to not get emotional seeing them at the ribbon cutting for the ceremony because I mean, all like you and I know all the hard work they put in to make this happen. It's not easy to find investors to invest in something like this to this capacity. They were finally able to do that. And the grand opening was a huge success. A ton of people were there from the moment they opened their doors to the public. Every single court was booked up. I've played there 5 times in the last 2 weeks. Every single time, every court was filled. It's just amazing. I absolutely love it. I'll be spending a lot of time there. I'm sure you're going to see a lot of videos in the future from there. But to me, this is definitely another top moment in my entire pickleball journey. Just seeing their journey and where they've come and the outcome. Like this place, it blew my expectations away. Like I had, like their vision was awesome. It's even better than what I imagined it would be, and it's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. Leslie and Christy are great people. I've always enjoyed spending time with them. They're addicted to pickleball. I think that their passions have finally coming true. I can't wait to check out the facility. Probably when the weather is a little bit nicer, I'll be more inclined to want to go up to Michigan. But if I happen to be up there for some reason, at least I know there's an indoor facility that we can go play at. Here's what else I love about it, because I've played at the old Wolverine pickleball facility. I don't know, what would you say, like 5 or 6 times now, Webby?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I always loved it. But what I thought was cool was they had a solid community there. You could tell it was a community, it had a community feel. And now to take it and just move that to from what I thought was a really good facility to begin with to an ultimate, destination pickleball facility. Can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, the place is incredible. And I did a duper session there today. I came home, I splashed up in the bathroom, and then came here and connected with you to do this podcast. I literally did it right before I came and connected for this podcast episode. Any chance I get, I go there. I love it. It's such a cool place. Like I've played there 5 times now, and each time I go in there, I'm like, man, this is just like pickleball heaven right here. I mean, this is absolutely incredible.
Love it.
On a side note, I don't know if you watched anybody watching the video version. My bomber of the Loria Euphoria is empty, and just got a little bit less than half a glass left. But this is like our holiday tradition: me drinking a full bomber of alcohol.
Cheers, my friend. Well, that was great. Go check out Wolverine Pickleball again. Great place. From what I've heard, great people. Can't go wrong.
Yes, but I think that brings us to number 3 on our list. Would you like to introduce that to our viewers, Eddie?
I would. So I think I need to set the stage a little bit here. A lot of you know, but some of you might not. Back in September of 2022, I had started a full-time job with Jigsaw Pickleball. I'm sorry, with Jigsaw Health, focusing on pickleball. I do production engineering work for the Tuesday Night Pickleball broadcast. If you guys haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. In 2 days, we're going to have the second round of the playoffs for season 2 of the Arizona Pickleball League. It's going to be the Gilbert Gladiators against the Scottsdale Scorchers. The winner of that is going to go on to play the, oh my God, why am I spacing out here? Who beat Tempe last week? That would be the Peoria Pythons. And that will be a week from Tuesday on December 19th. So anyway, if you haven't checked it out, please check it out. But I bring this up to tell you that they're on Arizona time, which means my work schedule was shifted back a couple hours, 2 hours a day for half the year and 3 hours a day for the other half the year, because Arizona's smart. They don't do daylight savings time, blah, blah, blah. So what that meant, though, was that a lot of times that Webby and I would use in order to be able to bring you guys these live dinking arounds was taken up by me focusing on my full-time job with Jigsaw. And that meant that we did maybe 1 in that entire year, maybe 2. I don't even know. I'd have to go back and look, but not very many live videos from me. So some things changed a few months ago. Different arrangement with Jigsaw. I have some more flexibility in my schedule. That meant that Webby and I would be able to start doing more of these live with you. So that brings us to number 3, which is the return of dinking around with both Eddie and Webby. So as I mentioned, in the last year, Webby's been doing these either on his own or bringing on other guests to do it with him, which I think he did an absolutely incredible job. I'm grateful that you were able to kind of, keep the train moving when I was in a spot where I wasn't able to. And I think that there were some great episodes out there, but I'm definitely excited that both you and I are back together doing this on a somewhat regular basis.
Yeah, for sure. And I did have fun doing those episodes, but it doesn't even come close to comparing when you and I are together, especially when we're doing live tonight. Like, I definitely missed the live interaction from the crowd. I do not have the technological know-how to do these live like Eddie does. There's a lot that goes into it. People probably don't realize how much goes into doing these live. The fact, if you look at any of the other top pickleball podcasts out there, they don't do them live, and there's probably a reason for that, because it's very difficult. It's not easy to do this live on the spot. A lot of them depend on editing and post-production and stuff like that. When you go live, it's a whole different beast. If something goes wrong, or if you space out or say something wrong, there's no going back. If you tune into the previous episode, I had a lot of space out moments. But I feel like that's part of the charm. It's part of the charm of our episodes. You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I love doing them live. Absolutely. It's way better with Eddie and I doing this together. And like we've talked about in the past, like the reason we started even doing this podcast, it's an amazing way for Eddie and I to hang out from across the country. We share this bond with pickleball. We both love pickleball, and it's a way for us to spend 1 to 2 hours just shooting the shiznit and talking about whatever, mainly pickleball related. It started off just as beer and technology reviews with a little hint of pickleball sprinkled in there, but very quickly pickleball started invading more and more of our podcast time, to where it became 100% pickleball related. And I love that fact. I wouldn't change a thing. I think it's fun to kind of go back and like watch our progression, like go from a little bit of pickleball to a little bit more pickleball to all pickleball. And but this has been such a fun journey. I love the dinking around format. The fact that we really, like, sometimes we'll have a guest, sometimes we won't, but we really don't plan out a whole lot. We might have a couple topics in mind, and then we just kind of roll with it and see how it goes. Whereas the original podcast that we used to do, the Eddie and Webby show, we did a lot of pre-production work, and it was super fun. I loved it. I'm super proud of what we did. But it got to the point where, like, it was just, there was so much work involved before we even did the episode, to where it got a bit exhausting. We had some episodes where the guest kind of flaked out, and like, I feel like that kind of pushed us past our breaking point. It was like, this isn't even worth it anymore. So that's why we kind of ended the original podcast, but we kept going with the dinking around format. I absolutely love the dinking around format, and we're going to keep doing it as long as you guys show any bit of interest. Even if there's just like 2 of you tuning in, that's enough for me.
Hell, I'm even good with just 1 person tuning in, because I think this is fun. It's a good way to keep involved in the pickleball community, and I love it. I'm glad that we're back to doing this. Expect to continue to see this throughout 2024, because this is fun. And we get to have great interaction with our YouTube audience and Facebook audience, like this question from Mr. Tennis that I think is good before we get into our number 2. And Mr. Tennis asks, that's the last question I have. What's the overall pickleball community like for new players? Is it pretty open to letting people play with them, etc.? Well, I'll take my take on this one, and I'll obviously, want to hear yours as well, Webby. But I think that when you're new into pickleball, it can be a little bit intimidating. Typically, you're showing up to open play. You don't know what skill level you are. You don't know where to go, how to sign up. Every court's a little bit different. So I guess all I would say for you is, as you're getting into it, just ask a lot of questions. Tell people that you're new, you're figuring out. Ask people, hey, what do you think my rating is? Where do you think I should play? Anything I should work on? Because honestly, that will set you up for success. I think that where a lot of newbies and beginners in pickleball run into problems is that they see a group of maybe like 4-0 or even high 3-5 players, and they don't really understand all the technical things that are going into that style of play. They're like, oh, I want to play with them. They play a couple times, they get beat, and then they're asked not to play again. And they're like, what did I do? Why did that happen? And I think it's just if I could give any advice, it's just understand that when I'm in tournament mode or I'm in, hey, I want to get some high level play in, I want it to be a group of people that are minimum high 3-5 to 4-5. And like maybe like a 3-8 to 4-5 is what I'm looking for. And it's because a couple of things. It's style of play and its ability to execute, and it's also when your partner is a little bit lower level than you, they can get you in trouble a lot, and they could pop the ball up to to set you up for your opponents to smack you with it. It just becomes a different game at that point. So I wouldn't be offended if, as you're starting, if that situation happens, or maybe people are skipping you when they're signing up for a court. Don't take offense to it. Just know that it's because your skill level and your knowledge and your strategy aren't at the point yet to where where they want it to be. The second piece of advice is you're probably worse of a player than you think you are. I know going into this, Webby and I were guilty. We showed up for our first tournament. We felt very confident. We got destroyed because we had no idea what level of play we were getting into, because that's not what we experienced on our courts. So I would think always check yourself with a little bit of humility when it comes to your level of play. And then the third piece of advice would be to ask these groups that are better players to play with them once you get to a certain point. So once you feel confident with your game, once you understand dinking, once you understand the strategy of your third shot, when to drop, when to drive, all of that, challenge yourself. Ask that group of players, be like, hey, I am not a 4-0 player, but can I come play with your group maybe a game or two, because I want to learn and I want to get better. And assuming they're not there for, like they're preparing for a tournament or whatnot, they're probably going to play a couple of games with you. And then ask them, what do you think I can work on? What do you think I should be doing? And then be grateful for that. So that would be my third piece of advice, because I will tell you, a lot of people will do that. And my advice for the better players is, in addition, is to always play down every once in a while with beginners as well. So I know I threw a lot at you. Webby, what's your take on his question?
Yeah, I think Eddie's advice was spot on. Like you hit the nail on the head with everything that you said. For me, my personal experience has been like it depends on where you go. Some places are very beginner friendly, some places not so much. So kind of do your research, try to find out like where, like some places offer beginner nights, some places have like intro to pickleball. So just do your research. Like one thing now, the good thing about pickleball spreading so much and becoming so much more popular is there are so many more options now than there used to be. When Eddie and I first got into pickleball, it was a totally different scene. And to be honest, the first place I ever did a public open pickleball, it almost turned me off of the sport because it was a very cliquish type of thing. They didn't have a good paddle stacking method in place. It was kind of like you go there and then you wait for somebody to say, hey, go ahead and join us on this court or whatever. It was kind of like once they knew I was new to pickleball, they're like, oh man, I don't want to waste my time playing with him. So like I sat there for like 2 or 3 games worth not playing because nobody called me onto the court. I didn't know any better. They didn't do a paddle stacking thing. So it was a really bad experience. Luckily, somebody that was there recognized I was newer. They gave me some suggestions. They were like, hey, you should check out the USA Pickleball website. They have a places to play option. You can look and see if there's any places near you. And they gave me suggestions of a place to play that might be more beginner friendly and stuff like that. So then I found a different place to play that was closer to my house, and they were way nicer, way more accepting of beginners. But like I was saying, nowadays, I feel like a lot of places do have designated beginner time. Things are like more separated by skill level more than they were when I first got into it 6 years ago. So just do your research, find out the places that are good for beginners, play there, kind of size yourself up and see, like, are you like, is it competitive playing with these beginners, or do you feel like you're better than most of these players? If so, try to find like the next level up and play with 3.0 or 3.5 players and stuff like that. Especially if you come from tennis. A lot of people that come from tennis are naturally gifted when it comes to eye-hand coordination. I feel like you might be better than most people. Like in my case, I didn't play tennis at all. I didn't have much of a sports background at all. So pickleball was like really my first forte into competitive sports that I was really addicted to. So I kind of had to learn it all from scratch and stuff like that. So I don't know, just kind of try to get into a beginner group, size yourself up, find out where to go from there. There's a lot of people willing to help. Don't go to the pickleball forum and ask questions, because if you're a beginner and you ask a question in the pickleball forum, or especially the kitchen, you are going to get harassed big time, and you're going to feel like an idiot because people are just going to bash you and do the keyboard warrior thing. So don't go on Facebook groups unless it's like a designated local group. Those people are usually nice, but a public place like the pickleball forum, very toxic. Stay away.
Oh, really?
Yes, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. Great advice, Webby. Both you and I had similar but different experiences, so it's cool that we can both offer that up here as we go into our number 2 spot. So before I announce this one, I do got to say that Webby and I went back and forth on this a lot between this and the number 1 spot. If you would have asked me prior to what's going to go into number 1, if this number 2 would ever not be a number 1, I'd probably say no, because it's always been at the very top of my pickleball list. Every year we've participated in this event, we've always had an absolute blast. We are part of the event. We play in it. We co-host it. We do all these things. We got to do some incredible matches against pros throughout the years. You know, it was the first tournament we ever played in back in 2018 together. There's a lot of history and there's a lot of parallelism between Eddie and Webby and the number 2 spot, which was the 2023 Beer City Open. I love the Beer City Open. It's one of my favorite events that I look forward to every single year. It's something that as soon as it gets published, when the dates are, I throw it on my calendar and I work towards being a part of it. Webby and I try and coordinate when we can see each other, when we can be there. It's just a blast. And there's a number of reasons why. Number 1, I think the Grand Rapids pickleball community is up there, if not the top pickleball community that I've ever been a part of. Outside of our first time playing at, or my first time playing at Belknap Park and just showing up, I've had great experiences with everybody that plays at Belknap Park. We've been invited to the community. We've made friends that I think we're going to be friends with for our lives from being part of that Grand Rapids community. And I'm so grateful for that. The Beer City Open is run by some of the best tournament directors in the game. You've got Andrea Krupp, who's a top pro, who's also heavily invested in the Beer City Open, makes it a great experience for fellow pros. They do a great job now with their stadium court setup and the VIP area where they have music and food, and they have beer there that you can drink. Belknap Park as a facility for tournaments is incredible. I don't know what else can we say about the Beer City Open that we haven't said for hours and hours throughout all of our podcast episodes and videos up till now?
Oh man. Yeah. It's just, like you said, for me, it's the best and the greatest and most fun pickleball event every single year, consistently for the past 5 years. It's just incredible. I've never experienced such a good tournament experience, especially one on that grand scale. I mean, you've got all the top pros there, but it still feels like a local tournament. Just the fact, like the volunteers that work at the Beer City Open are second to none. They contribute so much blood, sweat, and tears to this event. Like the day after the Beer City Open event ends, they're starting to plan the next year's Beer City Open event. They want to make sure this is the best possible experience that they can put on, and that is evident for anybody that attends it. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about the experience because it's so good. It's just I don't even know what to say anymore. It's such a great experience. If you've never attended a Beer City Open before, do yourselves a favor and do it. But you've got to sign up as quick as possible because they usually fill up within 10 minutes of it going public on Pickleball Central or whatever that the website's called, pickleball.com or what. I don't even know. I forget.
Pickleball brackets.
Yeah, pickleballbrackets.com.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the people that's part of it is Matt Loria, who provided me with this beer, and that's why I'm forgetting what the name of websites are right now.
Dude, I love it. Beer City Open will always have a special place in our hearts. We've been a part of it since the very beginning. We've been to every single one, and I hope we can continue to do that.
Yep, like Eddie said, as soon as I hear the dates for it, I put it on my calendar. I request that week off work, and I try to be there for the entire week because even when I'm not playing, it's just amazing to drink some of the local beer, watch the top pickleball, and even just watch amateur pickleball. Like people all throughout the state and really all throughout the whole Midwest and the whole country are there. Like people, just it's like the who's who of pickleball, but it feels so down to earth. And it's just such a cool experience. I can't say enough good things about it.
Good. Well, I think it's almost time then for you to announce number one. I know. I can't believe it.
But yeah, like Eddie said before, like I feel like we went back and forth between the number 2 and the number 1 spot. It's very hard not to give the Beer City Open the number 1 spot, but something different happened this year. I'm all about like new experiences, and something happened this year that for me was one of the most memorable in my pickleball journey. And it was a trip that my wife and I took to Arizona. And the reason it was so memorable, not only because it was our first time going to Arizona and the beautiful scenery and stuff like that and the great weather, but I met up with Eddie because he works for Jigsaw Health, who is based out of Scottsdale, Arizona. And Eddie and I, we played pickleball with each other for 3 days in a row at the beautiful Orchard facility, the pickleball Orchard at the Orchard Pickleball facility from Jigsaw Health. And that place is amazing. It is the location of Tuesday Night Pickleball with the Arizona Pickleball League. And I was able to attend that in person. And I'll tell you what, not only is the video production for Tuesday Night Pickleball some of the best in all of pickleball, but being there in person is even more impressive because it's just such an incredible experience. Like when you're there, it feels like a super special event. The moment you walk in, you're greeted by excited people that are there. They give you some cowbells to ding. You choose which team you want to support. They give you a cowbell. They give you some noisemakers. They give you some the glowing necklaces and the glow sticks and stuff like that. And they have music going, and it's just super fun. They have all you can drink, either Electrolyte Supreme from Jigsaw or alcohol or wine and stuff like that. They had food there, and it's just the environment is electric. And that was just one of the things that we did while in Arizona. Eddie and I, we played skinny singles and singles against each other in a historic moment. And my personal pickleball journey is I finally defeated Eddie in a singles match, which is something I had never done before that point. I defeated him at skinny singles and full court singles. Eddie probably doesn't want that part added to this top 10 list, but for me, that was an amazing moment in history.
I could see how beating me would be one of your top moments for sure.
Yeah. But that was just one of many things that happened there. In addition to the things I've already mentioned, I met Tyson Apostle from Survivor and played pickleball with him. He even competed against me in an episode of Webby versus Everybody, which was number 10 on today's list. The whole Webby versus Everybody series, but I got to compete against Tyson Apostle. For anybody unaware, he is one of the all-star cast members from the TV show Survivor, which I have been a big fan of since the first season. So for me, that was a huge moment. My wife is a big fan of Survivor, so us getting a chance to meet him and then me playing pickleball against him. I almost beat him, but he was able to just barely squeak by. I feel like it was because we chose to play rally scoring pickleball. If we didn't do rally scoring, I think I would have had him. He got some cheap points because of the rally scoring stipulation, but whatever, that's beside the point. But he did beat me, but just barely. But that was super fun. Um, and that's another reason why I love pickleball so much. The fact that like this person that I was a big fan of from watching Survivor, I was able to meet with and play pickleball against. I mean, that's another thing. Like how, like what other sport can you just meet up with a celebrity that you grew up
Right.
watching and do stuff like that? It just I feel like there's more things I'm forgetting about, but that trip to Arizona was just so amazing for me and my wife, and the fact that I got to spend so much time with Eddie. And up to that point, I think wasn't that the first time that we even got a chance to hang out this year? Was when I took that trip to Arizona. I think it was,
Well, I saw
or
you
maybe the second
briefly in
time.
yeah, I saw you briefly in January, but that was for not great
Yeah,
circumstances.
yeah,
When I came up to Michigan for a family member's funeral, but yeah, that
yeah.
was the first time I got to hang out for like a consistent amount of time that year. Yes.
But it's just so much fun, and most of that trip was pickleball related. And I just feel like just how epic all the experiences were. It just holds a very special place in my personal heart, and for me, that's why that took the number one spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. It to me it slightly edges it out because of so many things that took place. I was so excited to be able to show off the orchard to you, the my office when I traveled to Scottsdale, right? To be able to show you the production area, for you to be able to experience all the excitement, for you to be able to also do a tour of the Jigsaw offices.
Yes.
That was really cool. Like I just, it was awesome having you there and just being able to spend time with you and Amber, even when we were in, Old Town Scottsdale and all the Mexican food we were eating and just all the fun times we had. It was such a cool treat. And how crazy is it that like, you and I get together in a state that's, thousands of miles away from both of ours in Arizona for something like
Right.
that. That was pretty cool.
And then you mentioned the tour of the Jigsaw Health facility. That was super fun. And that's another video that I did. I did a walkthrough of the entire facility with Patrick. And I that's one of my favorite videos I've done because it was so cool. Because Eddie and I have been huge fans of the Jigsaw Health commercials, even well before Eddie started working for Jigsaw Health. We recognized that what they were doing was so above and beyond anything any other company had ever done in the pickleball world. And I feel like they became like the Super Bowl commercials of the pickleball world because every time they would do a commercial, it was something that people would talk about. They would share the commercials just because they were so funny and so good. And the crazy part is like I feel like I've been friends with Patrick and Ashley from Jigsaw for years, but that was the first time I ever met them in person. So that was like another big monumental moment for me that stands out for me. And then Patrick was nice enough to give me a walkthrough tour of the entire Jigsaw facility, and he let me take the camera through the whole facility, even through the parts that say no cameras allowed. So that was cool that he let me into the top secret areas of where the Jigsaw Health stuff happens. But being able to see the area in person where all these famous Jigsaw Health commercials took place, it was super cool. So if you look up the video of my Jigsaw Health tour, I edit it to where like you see the location and then it cuts to a scene from the commercial. And I'm sure
Mhm.
all the commercials are commercials you guys like can vividly remember from seeing during the pro pickleball live streams and stuff. But just yeah, I feel like every time I think about that trip, there's this another memory that stands out as being one of my top pickleball memories. And it was just such a cool experience. And yeah, for me, that was easily the number one moment of the year, even though it was hard kind of figuring out between that and Beer City Open because Beer City Open holds such a special place in our heart. But for me, it wasn't too hard to put this in the number one spot.
That's right. And guys, we brought up Jigsaw Health a few times here as we've gone through the number one. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I work with them, but long before I started working with Jigsaw Health, I have been using their products. My favorite is the the pickleball cocktail, blue raspberry flavor. To me, I drink it every time I do any heavy exercise. I love it. Keeps me hydrated, especially down here in the Southwest Florida heat and humidity. And it tastes amazing too. It tastes like cotton candy to me. Webby, what's your favorite go-to Jigsaw hydration method?
So you know what? Since we're doing a top 10 list, I feel like I'm going to rank my top three products. So
Okay.
number three is the orange.
Pickleball
Oh,
cocktail.
what's yeah, pickleball cocktail. Sorry, I've finished this bomber of beer, so my thoughts are taking a little longer than usual. But number three is the orange pickleball cocktail. Number two is the blue raspberry pickleball cocktail, which I drink every morning now. Number one for me, though, is the Fruit Punch Electrolyte Supreme. Every time I play pickleball, I drink two of those. I drink one at the beginning, and then I drink one at the end. And I kid you not, that has helped me big time because, as anybody who's ever played with me, especially Eddie, knows, I sweat like crazy. It's insane how much I sweat. So I need, like, water alone definitely does not work for me. I have had dehydration issues in the past. So if I drink an electrolyte supreme at the beginning and an electrolyte supreme at the end, I am good to go. I have not had any issues since I started doing that, and it tastes amazing.
That's right. They have plenty of other products too. My daily regimen consists of Mag SRT, which is magnesium slow release tabs, the adrenal cocktail, as well as the cod liver oil. And I can tell you guys, by taking these products, I feel good. And at Jigsaw Health, it's fun to feel good. I stand by the products. If you guys want to try it out, use coupon code PB for life 10 to get $10 off your order. Again, you go to Jigsaw Health, coupon code PB for life 10, $10 off your order. You're gonna like it. It's just great stuff. It's absolutely great stuff.
Yes, it works. It's good stuff. And their tagline is legit. It is fun to feel good. If you think
Mm-hmm.
it's fun to feel bad, then you're stupid and you can't be my friend.
Yes, I can tell the alcohol is starting to kick in, which means it's time for us to start wrapping up this incredible year-end episode. For all of you guys still watching, thank you so much for sticking with us through this. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again to Mr. Tennis for interacting with us quite a bit tonight. Definitely appreciate that. Glad you've transitioned into the world of pickleball. And again, if we can be of any help to you, please reach out. We'll be happy to. Is there anything else you want to wrap up 2023 with here, Webby? I feel like it was a big year, and I feel like we have so much stuff that we need to plan for 2024 that I'm
Oh
glad we're
man.
taking these next few weeks off. But is there anything else that we missed here tonight?
There probably is a lot of stuff that we missed because it was such a great year, but I want to end with one question. What, at this point in time, are you most looking forward to in the pickleball world in 2024?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I think it would probably be having a lot of this up in the air crap with the pro tours kind of come to a place of I don't know what the right word I'm looking for here, but basically where we're gonna have some resolution. There's gonna be a path to success for this whole pro pickleball format, and that pro pickleball will still be a thing throughout 2024. So that's kind of like globally what I'm looking forward to from you and I. I'm just looking forward to doing a lot more of this content, to, figuring out what we like to do and getting it out there in the pickleball space. But I want your answer to that question.
All right. So what you said is great, and I agree with both of those things. But the thing that I am currently looking most forward to is a new endeavor that Eddie and I just got into, and that is something known as the Detroit Pickleball League. Eddie and I actually purchased a team. I am one of the players on the team. We just recently had our first team practice. It's really going to kick off at the beginning of January, and it's something totally new to us, so I'm super excited about that. I think we have a very solid team. I think we have a good chance of doing well. The format is very similar to Major League Pickleball's format, and I think it's going to be super fun. I'm looking very forward to it, and you can definitely stay tuned because we will give you guys updates either via the podcast in 2024, or maybe I'll release some videos. Who knows? We don't know what exactly is going to go on, but that's why I love it, and I'm looking forward to it. Something new. I love the fact that even 6 years into it, we have all these brand new experiences in the pickleball world, and I can't wait for the ride.
That's right. So excited for that. So many things to be grateful for from 2023. So many things to be grateful for in 2024. My saying, I didn't come up with this. I definitely stole it, but it's always grateful, never satisfied. And that to me means grateful for all the great experiences we've had in pickleball, but we're just getting started. And I can't wait to see what 2024 brings. Webby, if there's one word to describe 2023, what would you describe it as?
Off the top of my head, I would say epic. There were so many things that happened that I think are some of my top pickleball memories so far, which is crazy to me 6 years into it, but it was just an epic year for me personally. What about you?
Yeah, I want to use the term let's see, growth, because I do think that so many things have grown this year for us as individuals, for us as Eddie and Webby, as well as, pickleball as a whole. And I think all that growth is going to result in a blooming forest in 2024. So I'm going to use the word
Nice.
growth.
I like it. I like it a lot.
That's right. Stay tuned for a lot more action coming up in 2024. Guys, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for all that you've done for us in 2023. And on that note, I'm Eddie.
And until next time, this is Webby, not Eddie, signing off.
See ya.